Welcome. Welcome to another episode of The Impact of Data and AI Literacy. Our guest today is all the way from Denmark. Her name is Paulina Dubas. She's the founder of Dubas Consulting. She speaks, she teaches. She's a part of her community involvement, co-organizing the Code Club, and works with multiple clients globally, and is also the co-host of her own podcast, DevSecOps Talks. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
You want to give us a little bit of background about what you do within your consulting? What are some of the things that you do with your clients?
So I primarily work with umbrella term platform engineering or DevOps. So all the way from DevOps platform, cloud infrastructure, from strategy and C-level advisory, all the way to implementation and operations of it. Also teaching developers on various topics, sometimes project involvement from MVP side. So I do different things, but we are focused on platform engineering and anything what goes under it.
So to provide a baseline for the audience, we've said the word DevOps a couple times in my introduction as well as your introduction. What is DevOps?
So DevOps has a history from 2009, and it came from bringing developers and operations closer together. Because traditionally we had the history when dev were developing software, and then they were giving it over to operations who are operating it, deploying it, and so on. And Patrick Dubas in Belgium, in Ghent, he noticed that it takes too long because the lead time was very long. We shipped code a few times a year at best. So he brought it together to being able to get faster development, faster software development life cycle, and to be able to ship more often, and also to get to dev to being able to get to know what ops is doing and other way around. So that's how DevOps came to life as more approach how we can have a continuous feedback, continuous flow, and continuous learning on the software development cycle.
Where does DevOps fall in the process?
DevOps you can put everywhere, but from this we have many stuff into AOps. It's whole process from how you design the code, plan, design, build, test, then release all the way, and get a feedback loop. So you want to have as fast feedback loop as possible. That's the whole idea in the process, and you want to repeat it. So you can apply it to AI, you can apply it to front end, you can apply it to back end. So it's a culture of principles how we want to work within, to being able to deploy faster, get faster recovery, and have a lower failure rate. To also have all the code promotion, CI/CD, and after these principles coming a bunch of tooling connected to it, and problems in itself which coming with it as well.
Just to one more definition, you mentioned the word platform engineering, and I'm pretty sure I know what that is, but I could easily see how the term platform engineering could be maybe interpreted a couple different ways. How are you using it here in this conversation as a part of your job?
So as a DevOps came, we had it across small teams, and that then suddenly everyone had to do DevOps, and that bring, especially in the big organization, a lot of duplicated work, because everyone had to maintain their own pipelines, get their own tooling, deal with their own infrastructure. So platform came as trying to centralize and standardize stuff across the organization, to being able to have centralized and standardized pipeline, Kubernetes cluster, the same way how we do Kubernetes cluster, how we do observability, how we do testing. So then developers don't have to deal with all of it as well. So you have it bring DevOps a bit as a product. So you have pipelines as a product, you have clusters as a product, infrastructure as a product. So instead of forcing everyone to being able to learn certain stuff, you give it to them and they can request it and have standardized way and centralized way of doing it in your organization.
When we think about AI and all the different AI branches underneath that umbrella, how does that fit into this modern platform infrastructure that you talk about?
So AI needs to be also. So with AI came the same principles of development models, and you need to host them somewhere. You need to deploy them. You need some security. You need to test them. You need scaling of the infrastructure coming with it. You need some observability with it. So AI come as another tool for it, but you can also use AI within your platform or within your DevOps as well. So you can put it into multiple ways how you can put AI within current platform engineering. And also AI can be productized within the organization, because everyone wanna have AI in their own team, but you wanna have one way of doing AI across your organization to being able to apply security policies, versioning of it, one way of hosting it, what can you use it? So we have similar principles for it. That's one thing. And then you have all the stuff which are coming for any other software, and also you need them to being able to run AI.
So then DevOps is managing the AI lifecycle from at the point in time you have a use case, testing it all the way, from end to end. But then I also heard that you're leveraging AI technologies within your platform infrastructure.
Yes.
Okay. Can you give me an example of how you're using AI in the infrastructure?
So some of it gonna be observability. You want AI to being able to learn, to automatically deal with any bugs and so on. Other way could be security. You have a bunch of threats coming when you do security scanning, and you wanna be able to, AI to prioritize it and detect which is more important. What should you approach of? You have, of course, you use it. A lot of people use it for code creation, for IAC automation and so on. That's one part. So you have a lot of different ways to being able to approach it. Some people start using agents and Kubernetes controllers to being able to deal with infrastructure. Some people going away from Terraform and OpenTofu, and instead of they trying to put AI on top of it to being able to talk to AI, which gonna manage your infrastructure, for example, and manage your pipelines. So I think we are not that mature yet within it, but I can see there are a lot of different approaches on the market, how we can use AI within, also for prototyping or whole strategy for strategy creation. So how your pipelines should look like, because that's also quite complex topic which a lot of people don't know how to approach, because pipeline can be designed in many different ways. So depending if you do PR pipeline, if you want to build pipeline, if you want an environment pipeline, if it's test pipeline, it's going to be different building components, also depending what technology you're using and what hit points you need to have, depending on what industry are you running, or to being able to be compliant. Also, there's a whole new topic which is coming, which is compliance in EU. Because there's a lot of regulations which EU came up recently with, and even more which are coming with. So to be able to check if we are compliant or if your code is compliant to the particular rules. That's also something what is quite on. I work, for example, with one of the on the advisory board with one of the startups, and they're looking into being compliant, security, and particular rules which might apply for your organization or for use case. You can define it also, and then AI gonna automatically do it within your code already. So
there's so many things I want to ask at this point. You've touched on so many different topics. For example, can you leverage AI to predict outages and capacity issues before they occur?
yeah, I think we can. I haven't used it widely yet. I think we are still crawling in the usage, especially in DevOps. I think it's wider use in other sides of software development. But yeah, I think we're getting there.
So if we're still early on in this stage of maturity, what are some of the pain points in the current CI/CD pipeline that AI can start addressing now?
I think, debugging, that's one part. So for example, one thing, you have huge lock always from the pipelines, which no one really can read. Or you have errors. So for example, AI can, automatically find you solution for your errors. You can leverage your models to being able to do this. You can, security scanning. A lot of companies like Snyk and others started, having AI leverage in their own, within their own software to being able to improve how we handling threats and security issues.
So if we're in the early stages, do we think we can measure the ROI of AI in the platform engineering beyond just basic, cost savings? Or are we still too early to leverage that?
I think we're getting more and more data. For example, DevOps report, which is getting done with Dora every year, they're focusing more on AI and how AI is getting into DevOps. So I think, we're getting more and more data into how we can leverage it. But one is, AI can check, for example, costs, drift detection, how much faster we are. That's probably one which was the easiest to measure, because people are, we follow our capacity usually and how much we work, on the tickets, Jira, on other software. So that's usually the easiest where people have the more data. Because question, okay, you can use it, but question if you have enough data to see the difference before and after.
So then how do we ensure that we're not adding more complexity into this life cycle? Like, is adding AI just another layer, or is adding AI adding another layer of complexities that now we need to consider?
I think it's both, because with AI comes with its own issues,
Right.
if you can say it. You have okay, how do you train AI? How much you can trust it? What confidence is it? It has of data, and results. How much complexity it comes, how much, because I think some stuff it's gonna simplify, some stuff it's gonna make it more complex. You need to host it, you need to include it into your existing workflow already. So it comes with a lot of issues and its own also with its own regulations. So I think we can usually, in the developer efficiency, we can see increase on how much it comes, but it's also hard. How do you measure complexity? I think it's hard to measure in certain cases because you have, I don't know, how would you measure complexity actually?
I don't know. That's something to think about. That's why we have these conversations. Like, okay. So if I step back, take a more broader view of this approach, what kind of guardrails should be in place to ensure human oversight of AI automated deployments? Like, we don't want to just sit back and let it go off on its own. What do you think?
I think you need to know the trust you can have for your, AI
Mm,
in whatever way you are using it. So you need to be sure it's comply with the regulations. I'm underlying it a lot because in Europe, at least, it's a very hot topic right now because
right.
how many regulations were coming, and AI Act is one of them. And if you not comply, you're gonna pay a lot of money connected to it.
Mm. Okay, then that brings me
Mm.
my follow-on question. If we do have an incident, what would be the escalation process that we would want to consider if there's an AI-driven action that's wrong, or through your process, you've determined that it's out of compliance, or worse, sometimes this happens. The AI model is made public, and we recognize that how it's being used is not quite, how it was supposed to be implemented. What are some suggestions of how you handle that escalation process? Like, what do you
So
recommend
you
for
have
others?
certain timelines,
Mhm.
you have, I think, I don't remember right now because there's few regulations and they have different timelines, but within 24 hours, you need to inform about the incident. And then you have around a month to being able to, get whole root cause analysis. And to be able to do it, you need logs connected to your AI. You need, who's using it, how is it used, what is it used for. You need some traceability to it. You need you need versioning for your model, or for what data you are using to be able to train the model.
Mm.
So that is required by law now. So that's something what is good to have for your infrastructure and for your AI, and to be able to check what happened, what actually happened there. So you wanna being able to stop it. You wanna inform the people who are required for it. You wanna being able to create standard war room and take incident from there to being able to find what went wrong.
You know, I heard you mention that AI is not just another layer of capabilities, but it also adds another layer of considerations and more points of where we need to ensure that it's being guided, accurately. How would we want to align AI and leveraging AI technologies with your overall DevOps and platform engineering strategy? And I ask that question because I can see I can see the allure of wanting to leverage AI and get your DevOps, faster, smarter, automated. But I also hear you talk about the pain points and the challenges and the escalation and this other layer of nuances and considerations. So how do we really mesh those two together so that it's working the way you want it to work? Like, how do we think about that at the larger strategy?
One pain point which I see, I think AI, now everyone want to do AI. You have management,
Yeah.
you have particular developers. So in my opinion, it should be centralized way of doing AI in every organization, to
Okay.
have someone who's ensured that it's done right, that it's done, in the compliant way, that people have training which they need, because also that's, if you put even internal AI or open source AI, whatever, you need people to be able to use it also in the correct way, or how to use it in secure way, because that's what I see a lot. People put, confidential data into public models, what is a
Mhm.
big no-no. So I think having centralized way of doing stuff, that helps with having it getting it into DevOps platform or any other part of software development lifecycle, and then take one thing at a time, because you need to have organizations supporting you to being able to use AI and leverage AI, and you cannot do everything at once. So I don't know, do agent to be internal agent to being able to get, information from your documentation. That's the best way, for example, to, get developers to maintain the documentation. Then apply it, try to apply it, give the tools to the developers, give, I don't know, use it in the security, for example, scan. Then, one step at a time. You cannot take everything at once.
So really think through your use case. So
Yeah.
while you're talking, how I'm envisioning this is really outlining as a part of your strategy, what is the use case for applying AI? Consider what's the ease of implementation that's going to give you the most value, and then work your way through that kind of four quadrant of, yes, ease of implementation is low, but value is going to be high. And then eventually move through that use case until you get to the end where ease of implementation may be really high and value is low. And then start applying that, not all at once is what I'm hearing, but start applying that, make sure it's working properly, and then consider working on the next use case. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes,
Yeah.
take one by one and check where you do have the highest ROI. But also before you start implementing anything, do a POC, check what is required. Can you put it into existing infrastructure and structure of code already you have? Because you have to usually work within whatever your organization is working already. So there's always, certain processes maybe you need to create. So it's not only about code or creation and implementation, but it's also about creation processes, teaching people. Maybe you need to get approval from the management for using it for management. So there are, I think, few steps also which you need to being able to consider next to implementing it.
I'm going to go back to something you mentioned about central. You mentioned the words central, not organization, but a central way of ensuring and applying that AI and data is being leveraged properly. At first, when you said that, I was thinking, okay, like a center of excellence, within the technical team. But then really, my background in as a chief data officer is really looking at this holistically across the organization, not just focused as, a data excellence within, procurement or data excellence within IT, but looking at an excellence that's overarching. And I'm thinking that I could see how organizations would really want to focus in on centralizing data in the IT, but not recognizing that there has to be more alignment with, say, a larger corporate data strategy. Because you've mentioned some things that, for example, in Europe, the GDPR, the compliance, the AI Act, things that here in the US we aren't quite there yet. We're not quite there yet. I'm just curious what you
I
think.
think, no, I agree. I totally agree. It shouldn't be only on the technical part, on technical center of excellence, as you said. It should be, across organizations. So, management should be aligned with tech, and they should be aligned with procurement. They should be aligned with legal. So all of this stuff matter, and from both sides, because we have some regulations and we have some more regulations coming into it. And actually, I think in California right now, they're working on something similar to European AI Act. At least that's what I looked into. So I think there are some, more regulation in progress all over the world around it. But because the technology on this level of accessibility is so new, it's not everywhere year implemented.
I want to switch to the future. I know we've talked about AI in the early stages of DevOps, but I think it would be of interest to kind of see where we could be heading. For example, you mentioned today that AI can assist with CI/CD, code scanning, test optimization, anomaly detection. But in the future, you take this and you continue to move further and further in the future, and we could see self-managing platforms or self-healing platforms where AI could automatically roll back faulty deployments or self-optimize infrastructure cost and performance, or maybe I'm going to use the word heal again because it sounds really cool, but heal broken services without, a human in the loop or human intervention. I'm curious where you think this is going for the future.
Yeah, I think AI native platforms or DevOps or pipelines, are coming and probably not in such a, not such a high long future. I think we don't need to gonna have to wait for it such a long time. We have AI agents coming as a part of our teams, and probably at some point we're gonna have, AI agents working as a teams in itself. You're gonna have team of agents and so on. But in the platform scratch, I think you're gonna have self-healing, self-optimizing, adapting to whatever needs, and you're gonna have, so one thing is gonna be independent, but other way you're gonna probably be able to work with it within your natural language, and then AI is handling the complexity. So you can tell it what you want to change, and you don't really touch the code, you're just supervising whatever AI is doing. But you can also come with it, in the other abstraction as well. You have sustainability. So probably you're going to have, track of energy by AI and, optimizing in, okay, how can we be more sustainable? How can we be more, cost efficient? How can we be more secure by design? How can we be compliant to all of it, to all the regulations that are coming up? So in general, I think we're going to have, still human point to tell AI what we want, but AI gonna handle whole complexity behind it.
So, for example, if I look at the operation versus, say, orchestration, and then I'm going to give you an example of an impact of where the human falls into this process. So before AI, here's here's one reference. Humans were manually monitoring logs, they were deploying the code, they were troubleshooting incidences. With AI can help handle detection, triage, actually propose and recommend corrections. The impact here, I think, is positive. Humans shift from doing the tactical, repetitive tasks to really thinking about the orchestration decisions, approving or rejecting those rollbacks, overriding AI if the context is not considered, because I don't think AI can really understand the context of their decisions. Setting thresholds to what AI actions can take autonomously. But where I think the challenge is going to occur is not in the systematic approach of AI, but in our human trust in AI outputs. I'm a huge advocate at the moment that trust is our new currency, that our bottlenecks aren't going to be the speed of AI. It's really going to be the human trust. I'm going to say that again. The trust that we have in those AI outputs. For example, is in the example I gave before, is this rollback justified? What about ethical fading? Is AI is not going to be able to handle the concept of ethical fading, but it could make those decisions if we don't have a human in that loop. I don't know, this is just me thinking about it as you were talking, but I'm curious how you see where the human component is going to be, or if we think this is going to go so far that, right now we're human in the loop, human over the loop, managing, but at some point there's been conversations that we could just be out of the loop altogether. That's really the question I have for you. I'm curious on your thoughts.
I fully agree that trust, it's a role, but I don't think so. It's only with AI. I think it's also with, between humans, which we usually don't have as much as we think we should. I might talk about it also on DevOps Days Amsterdam, and people, overlook it because we talk so much about tools, principles, and so on, but we don't really talk enough about the trust. And if, I think that's what I see the biggest break if it's going to organization getting AI into action and with what speed we're gonna take it. Because some organizations do it very fast, some organizations do it super slowly, as I can see. So it's depends how much exactly how much trust you're gonna put, depends on what speed we're gonna being able to use it. And I think it's gonna change, you know. So where is the human in the loop and where is our place in it? In the beginning, probably we are, you know, more in the loop. The more we have trust in it, the more we're gonna go out of it, or we're gonna go to a higher level versus what AI can do without our interaction into it or without our approval. But currently, I think we, at least within next few years, we're going more towards giving strategy and requirements to AI to what it wanna do with the way it involves, and of course, getting more trust to it. And are we trusting it enough to being able to put it into production?
So, one takeaway from you for the audience. Regardless of where you are in your process, you mentioned some people are moving more quickly, some people are moving more slowly, but everything that we've just talked about is really about governance, a multi-tiered, governance structure, governance model. So my question to you is, what is one thing that you could propose now if you could talk to all of these different companies, the ones that are moving faster, the ones that are moving slower? What's one thing they can do today that would help them set up for success for that future governance model as AI becomes more and more automated within the DevOps lifecycle?
One thing I would say, get a champion or get a team of champions within their organization who can drive it. Because if you don't have people who know what they're talking about, you don't really gonna move, or you're gonna have people pulling you in 10 different directions. So if you have people who you can trust about the topic, I think that's the first step to being able to get a change within your organization and getting more AI within your software development lifecycle.
I like that. I was looking on the internet and you have a book that you're currently writing. Totally going to shift now to something more
Yes.
fun. So you have a book, and I think the working title is Resilient and Secure AI Infrastructure. Um, what's the purpose of the book? What is it you want folks to get out of it when they finish reading it? I know it's not out yet, but I thought it'd be neat to talk a little bit about it.
So yeah, you're right. Book is in the works, and general idea besides the book came that we have huge AI hype, but no one really talks about what's behind AI. How do you have a models and AI usage which can be secure and resilient, which is maybe boring for many people, but is as important as bringing the innovation. You need to be able to have both secure and reliant innovation. So it's from all the way from, how do we, what threats are coming with AI? How do we handle it? How can we make it secure? What is data poisoning? From prompt engineering, for all the legislation coming within European Union connected to it, what we need to look at it. How do we, how do we host our models? What infrastructure is required for it? How can we make it scalable pipelines for it as well, because you need to be able to deploy new version of your model. You want to be able to control what model do you have in production. You don't want to have everything. So it's quite a wide point of view on how can we have, the same principles which we're using into software development within AI. So security, reliability, observability, compliance, all in one. That's which is focused for the practitioners. So we're looking into DevOps engineers, we're looking into SRE, we're looking into platform team, we're looking into people who work with it and need to being able to look into higher, broader perspective than only prompting into the model. But I think it's nice to have full picture of it, not only LLM models, but more wider what's behind it as well, what is required to being able to have it.
So if I take the conversation we've had to now and I look at what you're putting in your book, what I've realized is today we have a human in the loop, AI-driven DevOps. And as we shift using AI, not just in the tools and the technology, but also leveraging AI in the process, we're going to move from, instead of asking, okay, what do I do next? We're moving into this, should I allow AI to do this? And if so, under what conditions should I allow AI to do this? And I think if I tie that back to your book, in order for us to start asking those questions, we have to know more about AI, both its positive and its negative, both the risks. And your book is that other step in AI literacy. So where I see your book adding a tremendous amount of value is educating individuals on this process and be able to know enough to ask the right questions. Because I think that's where this is headed, is we may know a lot of information, but if we're not asking the right questions, we could risk AI going off and doing something that we really didn't want it to do.
Exactly. So you need to being able to, ask AI the right question, and you need to be able to assess whatever it's giving you as an answer or as an action. You need to be able to know if it's something what is good, is it secure, is it reliant, or it's not.
Right.
So one thing is, how we work with AI and what AI can do with it, but also our AI is running somewhere. And a lot of people, okay, we have, we got ChatGPT or any other model which is offered as a SaaS, but every organization want to have their own internal models because they don't want to make a data public. And that comes with a lot of complexity. And so it's a bit of both. Of course, we cannot cover everything in it, but you need the knowledge and you need to be able to use AI securely and efficiently.
Yeah. I think what I've recognized out of this call today is that there is so much just to this topic that I think you might have like 3 books in your series. There's just, I think this is like, a full day conversation of breaking down everything that we just talked about into smaller components. This was really good. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to wrap up with one last question. From your perspective, what is the one thing that people need to be thinking about now as they're considering AI in their DevOps lifecycle? Something that you wish, if you were standing there as part of your consulting, what do you wish that these folks could think about right now? I'm sure there's many that you could think about.
Yeah, it's hard
Where's the urgency at?
it's hard to tell. Yeah.
Okay, well, if you have more than one, that's fine. Where's the urgency?
I think it depends, but start using AI to make your life easier. I think that's the first step. Or even make an agent for your documentation. That's one of the easiest steps being able to do and automate. But there's so many things, and it depends how you use it, and depends where are you with your DevOps maturity or platform maturity and what your organization. So I don't have one thing, but start using it and start and see where it can bring value, or the more value for your setup and for your use cases.
I like the documentation one. I work with a lot of technical folks, and as we move from one phase to the project, We always go back and look at the technical documentation, and half the time it's halfway written because they're, the folks are moving so quickly from one project to another, or it's not comprehensive enough that there's no way I could understand what was done before. Oh, no, I could probably come up with a whole list of yes, I think that's a really good one. Technical, just the documentation, taking something so tactical out of their process to allow them to be more doing their jobs. I had one individual that I worked with. I was on a project in France, and this was probably the best technical documentation I've seen in 30 years, but it took him 3 weeks of, 45 hours a week to create it. I mean, it was brilliant, but 3 weeks of full time, he really could have been doing that in more strategic activities and bringing more value, to the project. So no, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And that's a great
Yeah,
one.
definitely. And AI, makes it both easier to create the documentation in a very easy way by giving it context and supervising, also documenting the code or whatever is there, or creating even, solution designs all the way to domain knowledge. And from the other perspective, it's also make it much more easier to search the documentation and get the information out of it with not going around and asking everyone, hey, where is this information, or what does this mean, or trying to figure it out on your own. So I think you can get a lot of value here, and especially a lot of developers, they don't like to write it, let's be honest. They prefer to code or solve the problems, but no one likes to write the documentation almost. I don't think I met anyone.
No, I think that's a really good one. Yeah.
In tech, I think you can bring a lot of value in the easy way here.
We are going to leave it there. Otherwise, we might just talk another hour on this conversation. Thank you so much, Paulina, for joining. I know you're joining from some country in Europe, so I appreciate it. Time zones. Thank you again for.
I'm in Denmark, so
Denmark.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.